introduction. Good evening.
Good evening.
It's a real honor and a thrill to be able to introduce and present the inaugural Champion of Accessible Justice Award to my friend and idol, Peter Edelman of Georgetown University Law Center. Peter is an American hero. He has devoted the entirety of his remarkable career to public service, public interest work, and education. He is driven by a mission to eliminate both poverty and injustice in America. That mission reflects the enduring influence of strong role models, his parents, who were committed to their community in Minneapolis, where Peter grew up, Supreme Court Justice Arthur Goldberg, from whom Peter took the life lesson that the end is justice and law but a means to that end. It reflects the influence of Robert Kennedy, for whom Peter worked in the Senate. And it reflects the influence of his wife, the great Marion Wright Edelman, his life partner. Peter and Marion met in Mississippi in the 1960s when Marion was the director of the NAACP Legal Defense and Education Fund's office in Jackson, and Peter accompanied Senator Kennedy on a fact-finding mission to investigate poverty in the Mississippi Delta. Peter has spoken about watching Senator Kennedy as he spoke to people living lives very different from his own. How he observed close up the senator's empathy, his humility, his ability to listen, his willingness to learn. When I heard Peter say that, I was struck by how Peter himself so models what he saw in Senator Kennedy. It is Peter's personal character, his humility, his empathy, that fuels his moral outrage and has motivated a lifelong commitment to himself pursuing the issues that Senator Kennedy took up in the 1960s. At the root of all of Peter's work lie two convictions. The first is that it is possible to eliminate both poverty and injustice in America. We have the financial wherewithal to do it, and to do it without compromising the country's prosperity. Our failure to do it reflects deliberate policy decisions not to. In Peter's view, it is entirely possible to eliminate both poverty and injustice. Second, Peter is driven by a profound belief in the dignity, value, virtue, and capability of every human being, and by a vision of a world in which everyone is empowered to use their gifts to thrive. Peter thinks big and he gets stuff done. I'll give you two quick examples. As Gabby mentioned, Peter has chaired the DC Access to Justice Commission since its founding in 2005. He has led the Commission's advocacy before the DC Council for funding for civil legal aid. In 2004, the year before the Commission's founding, the annual district appropriation for legal aid was exactly $0. Today, funding for civil legal aid by the DC Council is $31,677,840. Thank you, Peter. And second, as Gabby mentioned, Peter was behind the brilliant idea of the DC Affordable Law Firm because of his deep grounding in the access to justice crisis in the United States Peter recognizes that the problem affects not just so-called low-income people, it affects the middle class as well. There are tens of millions of Americans every year who make too much money to qualify for legal aid and not nearly enough to be able to afford a lawyer. The reason, as Peter and the DC Affordable Law Firm understand, is that the income eligibility cutoffs for legal aid are ridiculously low. Typically, the maximum income that a client is permitted to make to qualify for legal aid is an income at or below 200% of the federal poverty guideline. To put that in concrete terms, what that means this year, in 2024, is that if you're an individual, you can't make more than $30,120 and qualify for legal aid. Give me a break. People who make $31,000 a year can't afford a lawyer. Newsflash. That is the situation that the DC Affordable Law Firm was intended to address, because access to justice is everybody's right. The system belongs to the people and serves them. Over the course of a career that has spanned now 60 years, Peter's passion and sense of urgency about improving access to justice have never waned. Never. Peter has said, you are not allowed to be cynical. If things are going in the wrong direction, you cannot walk away. It's about making a difference, he said. You, Peter Edelman, have made a difference. You are the embodiment of the Jewish ideal of tikkun olam, repairing the world, making the world more just. You give us hope for a world in which poverty and injustice are vanquished, of a world in which your dream of things that never were, finally comes true. All of us who know you, all of us who work with you, those of us who just get to watch you, we love you, Peter. Thank you. And congratulations.